Today I am going to show you how to make bagels. The bagels that I make, because I live in Florida, as most of you know that follow me, and when the humidity gets to a certain point, you really cannot make anything with bread or pastry. It just doesn't come out right. It doesn't come out crispy, or it doesn't rise enough. It doesn't give you enough like of those little eyeballs in the middle of the bread. So today I'm going to show you what I do to make my bagels. I compensate for the moisture in the air, and also I tend to wait to see when the humidity is about maybe like 74, 73 in my home. Then that's like a safe area for me to make bread. Anything above that, I have yet to figure out how to make it. It just doesn't work. So here are my little tips and secrets, and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put the sourdough discard in here. And I just use my fingers, as you can see. I'm going to add a little honey now. I try to get honey with like different flavors, wildflower, and this is going to be about 2 tablespoons. It really just adds to the flavor of the bagel. I'm going to do a little mixing on that. The only real trick to this is 1 cup of flour. I'm going to add the flour one at a time and get it mixed real well first. Okay, now I'm going to add another cup. And I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Cup of flour. I'm going to help it out a little bit around the edges. This is a very hard dough, so I do highly recommend that if you have a KitchenAid, this is really the only way to go in life. I'll change your cooking world forever. If you use high-grade flour, like you don't want anything that is, you want just wheat. You don't want any chemicals in your flour. You don't want any gum in your flour like they pour in so many products. You want pure wheat flour. I usually buy organic, or I will buy flour from France, which you can buy on Amazon, so you can have just pure flour. That will make the world's biggest difference. You want to make sure the flour is nice and clean. That's how you know your dough is done. Now, if you add more flour, you get more of a dense bagel. But I kind of like them a little fluffy, so you're probably going to want to add maybe another half a cup to this. Okay. I'm just going to mix this a little bit more. I like a smoother looking dough. Okay, so here we are. It's a little smoother. It feels nice, like it's got a nice little spring to it. And now we're going to get it ready to go night-night so it can rise. So here's a little trick I learned from someone who makes bread. These are the antique bowls. They're definitely a lot heavier than the ones that you buy in the store today. And for some reason, they do make a difference on how your bread rises. Don't ask me why. I don't know the science behind it, but I have noticed it holds the moisture a lot better, and your bread tends to rise more fluffy. You tend to see like more eyeballs in it, you know, the little bubbles from it. So I have searched up and down God's creation in my area to look for these antique bowls, and you, as soon as you pick them up, you can tell the difference. There's a different weight to them, different density to them. They're always much taller. So now we're going to give it a little plastic wrap, and we're going to give it a little shower cap coverage. And now this is going to go in the garage. Okay, the moment of truth. The bread has risen. And as you can see, they have little bubbles here. So we are ready to get this ready. There we go. We are going to cut this 8 pieces. You don't have to do this, but I always weigh it down. Make sure they're about the same size. And now we're going to form our bagels. This is the easiest part of everything. There's really not much work to do. You're probably just going to mix and then you roll. It's really, and then you boil. There's really just 3 simple steps to making these bagels that my husband loves on a Sunday morning. So I try to make them on Sunday morning, and I'll prep everything the night before. Because at the end of the day, you can't have a decent bagel. You gotta fly to New York to a Jewish deli. And here we are. So now I have my pan with tissue paper. I'm going to spray a little oil on it. Woohoo! Very exciting, because I don't like it to stick. And then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pop a hole. You're going to really draw it out. And you're going to see what happens to this. It's going to shrink right back into the center. So it's a peekaboo hole, as I call it, for the peekaboos. And here we go. Make it as big as you can. So what's the purpose of the hole, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. The purpose of the hole is so when you boil it, it's just going to float. It's like a little water tube, you know? And they just float to the top. So when you have a hole, they won't kind of sink and they'll just float like they would in the water. So we're going to cover this up. I have myself a wet tea towel, which you can probably also, these are very hard to find, by the way, but you can get an old sheet and cut them, and then it's much easier. It won't overweigh at the bottom, so they still puff up. So you just put it over your bagels. You're going to wait about an hour, and then we're going to be able to boil them. So see you in a bit. I just filled the pot with water. I'm going to put a tablespoon of baking soda. And then we are going to make another tablespoon of brown sugar. Now, the better the brown sugar, the tastier the bagel. And I'm going to let this boil. Okay, so our water is hot, ready to go. I already warmed up our oven for 400 degrees. So we will be ready to go. All right, we got a good boil here, ready to go. I'm going to put my bagels in here. And you're going to leave them for about a minute on each side as they boil. I like to take 2 little spoons afterwards. You can kind of tell they start expanding. Then I'll just flip them over. Nothing like fresh bagels in the morning. That's my dog in the background. Okay, so now I'm going to take them and put them on the pan. Oh, flip them over. Miss Daisy, now let me tell you something about sourdough. I don't know what it is about sourdough bread or the bagels. Anything I put sourdough on, the dogs are like insane over it. And it only happens when I make sourdough. I have yet to understand why that is, but I assure you, your doggies are going to be very happy about the sourdough. And they won't leave you alone until you are done and give them a piece. So our dogs do have sourdough bread. I admit it. These are ready. They look like fluffy pillows. All right. So now we're going to put a little topping on them. Everybody likes a different topping. I have to tell you, poppy seed is probably right there as one of my favorites. And we can do a few sesame here. And then let's do a little everything bagel. This is probably one of my favorites too. And I think I need a little bit more. And we're going to leave this one plain for the doggies. All right, here we go. The oven, I have a little timer on here because I don't believe the timer's on the oven, and I've noticed a few things over the years. These are going to go in here for about 20 minutes, but I'm going to rotate it after 10, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so halfway through my bagels, ooh, look at that steam. See, they're starting to pillow up. I'm going to rotate these because one side of an oven is always warmer than the other. Let me get our little bagels out. As you can see, they're a nice golden color. So the first thing you're going to do is take them off the pan. And we are going to cool them off on a rack. You want to do this because if you leave them on the pan, they might just get a little like wet and soggy, and we don't want any of that. Now you can always make your bagels bigger. And here we are. This is the final product of the bagel making. They're delicious, easy to make, and I highly recommend you try it. Oh. Guess who came for a bagel? You want a bagel? And she knows. Here we are. Still a little warm, but as you can see, they're very pillowy. Nice bottoms. And this is for the doggies. As you can see, it's a very simple recipe. It just takes a little patience. That's it. Hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Till next time, my friends. Bye-bye.